All right. Next up, Topix, part of our 2.0 competition. Oh, and if anybody has a 4G running right now or one of those Verizon MiFis and that kind of stuff, if you'd be kind enough to turn those off and use the Wi-Fi, it'd be better for everybody because they tend to interfere with the overall Wi-Fi.
Let me look at the mic real quick. Oh, we got a little band, huh?
Thought it'd be appropriate to remind everybody it's an election year. Thanks to the young American patriots out of Pleasanton, California. I'm Chris Tolles, CEO of Topix, the largest local forum site in the US. We power news and conversations to over 20,000 cities and towns to over 10 million people a month. In the past couple of elections, we saw a huge amount of passion and a lot of traffic on our site, but it made us realize there wasn't a single place online, central place online anyway, to formulate your political opinions and share them online. You have LinkedIn for your professional activity, you got Facebook where all your friends are, but no one wants to be that guy on Facebook talking politics all the time. So we thought, time to do something about it. So today, we're introducing politics.topix.com, a fun and easy place to build your political profile online by interacting with the news around the candidates and issues of the 2012 election. So today, we're going to help build my political profile. So we're starting off on the front page of our site. We're releasing on the mobile web first, desktop to follow, and app to follow after that. As you can see, we start with a big call to action. Below that, we have a set of curated articles around the news that we think is the most important thing to follow for the day, selected by our editors. We're not meant to be a breaking news site. We're trying to get the characteristic articles for each issue. For example, we have Shimon Peres here at launch. So if we go into that article, we've taken all the media around that article, put it in one place, pulled out some quotes, and we end every article with a call to action. In this case, we have weighing in. Is technology the impetus behind the Arab Spring or just a medium for it? And is Perez right that sanctions are preferable to military action in Iran? So I could actually comment on that, or I could vote up the comment, but I'm going to go back to the front page now, because that call to action caught my eye. So is the public school system broken? Let me vote on that. I've decided, in looking at this, hey, that's a fairly, it's kind of big question. Maybe I should go look what other people have to say first. So I'm going to go look at what other folks have done, what they've weighed in on. And I've got a couple of different folks on here. What I'm looking down here, though, this guy, Eric Hanashek, well, that's kind of interesting. I kind of like what he has to say. Let me look at his full comment. Wow, I like this. He basically does acknowledge at least that there should be a public education system, but then says maybe it's a little broken. Let's go in to see who is he anyway? Actually, I'd like to thank Eric from the Hoover Institution for participating in our private beta. It's kind of cool. I'm going to follow him, actually. I think he's got some interesting stuff to say. Now I'm going to go back to the home page and go vote on that issue. So I'm going to say, yes, it's broken, and I'm going to endorse what Eric has to say. An endorsement's kind of like a retweet. It's something where I think this guy's got the right stuff to say about it. And I can look, once I've submitted that to the system, I can go look at what people are saying across the country. We overlay all of the answers that you have on issues like this into a map of the United States. It's interactive, and if we were launching just today, I'd have more than 5 votes or 16 votes, and I'd have the whole US and sort of how they're trending. Let's go back to the home page. I think, you know, now that I'm looking at it, though, I want to look at the issues. So let me go look into a set of issues. And everybody's got hot-button issues. Might happen to be education here, but whether it's abortion, healthcare, the economy, and so forth, this is really something that depends on who you are. For me, I'm going to look at the economy. That's something that matters to me. And I got one more issue here. It's like, you know, there's one that caught me at the very beginning, which is, do undocumented immigrants contribute to the economy? I think they do. So let me go in there and vote. I'm a fan of immigration. I'm an open borders guy. So I'm going to say yes, and now I'm going to put in a comment, which we've got pre-staged. I apologize, but we had to do it just so that keep the time down. So paste in my well-thought-out answer, post it. And now I'm going back to the economy because there's more stuff to look at there. In particular, I might want to look at the economy through the eyes of the candidates. So let me go look from issue to candidate. So I can look through the stream of information of what these people have said, and then I've got the various presidential candidates and what they think about the economy. Now, it's funny, I've never been a big fan of Newt, but look, that 12.5% corporate tax rate sounds kind of interesting. Let's go in and see what he says about that. All right, well, you know what, this is interesting enough. Let me go see what Newt has to say about the rest of the issues. So we can click on Newt's profile and get to the rest of what he says about other issues. Now I'm going through this and thinking, man, Newt, pretty much all he has to say is stuff about taxes. Let me go see what the rest of the candidates think. So I can look at all the candidates in the presidential election. We'll actually expand this to federal offices like congressional races and state and local races as we get closer to the election. We also have other politicians that are interesting in the course of the debate and some public figures and what they've been saying. This all coalesces into helping me build my political profile. So what I've done right now is actually build out my political profile. You might want to refresh that to bring it up. We can actually build the beginnings of my political profile through all the comments and articles that I've read and interactions I've had and people I follow. So this is the beginning of my political profile, which I can share or keep on the down lows as I see fit. So that's the product. One of the things I think is really important is to build out an informed electorate. And this is a product to help people do that. We're not alone in this space. There's BuzzFeed, Huffington Post, and every single news station in America. But we think it's going to take all of us to budge this product or budge this process. And I just wanted to say that we're trying to give you a way of building your personal profile online or your political profile online by interacting with the news around the issues and candidates of the 2012 election. Thank you very much. It's on politics.topix.com/launch right now, and we'll be shortly launching it on the main site, politics.topix.com. Thank you.
Okay. So again, for folks who weren't here yesterday, the little 2.0 on the podium indicates it's a 2.0 company, an existing company launching a new product, which we're trying to encourage more of next year. So if you're the CEO or founder of a company, next year certainly launch something on stage here. What do you guys think of LinkedIn for politics?
Actually, I had a quick question. So it looks like it's a mobile app right now.
Yeah, it's a mobile website right now.
And yet it seems like the goal is to have sort of more thoughtful answers. How did you sort of think about that? Because I certainly, the idea of typing in really long answers on my iPhone.
I would have thought the same a couple of years ago.
Sure.
But now that we're,
So I'm only a couple years old.
So actually, it comes out that in that time, though, a third of our traffic on Topix has gone from the desktop to mobile, and we're getting people putting a lot of pretty long, thought-out stuff on the mobile site. So what we realized is that we're going to start launching everything on mobile first. There will be a desktop app. This is not a permanent situation, but a week or two from now, we'll have the desktop in better shape. But we wanted to launch really with a mobile site in mind. But yeah, good question.
So I think there's definitely an opening in this space. I think Joe Green and Sean Parker, before they did Causes, were looking at something very similar. So there's definitely a sense there's an opening in this space. What I was surprised about looking at it, though, was I didn't see any Twitter integration. There's so much political conversation, short conversation, agreed, that goes on Twitter, but it seems like it'd be a good place
I probably didn't do the best job demoing this, but sharing this on Twitter and sharing this on Facebook is a big part of what you're going to do. We didn't think we were going to replace Twitter and Facebook by any means. We think that this is a place to sort of put more information and build your profile by interacting with the news, but clearly Twitter integration and sharing articles is a big part of that. I probably didn't do the best job demoing that capability.
That's fine. So you could take a few tips from 15.5 and maybe do the roll-up, because I know that with representatives in the House and the Senate and Congress, they have a very hard time knowing exactly what their constituents in certain geographic boundaries think. And they would love to be able to say, okay, adjusted for age and demographic and propensity to vote and being within the right borders, these are what my constituent wants me to do on these issues. I think that could be incredibly powerful to get them to market it for you.
Absolutely. And again, it was hard to show this off today because there's only 8 people on the system. But if you go to topix.com, you can see how we actually have done this mapping of people's sentiment across states, and it is very powerful. And we can actually get thousands of people per state, and then connect the people in the political offices there. So yeah, absolutely.
So 2 quick comments. One is There are a number of us in the Valley that are involved with one of the re-election campaigns from a technology perspective. One of the asks for that is allow to make donations easier. Obama kind of piloted this last time. He's looking for more ways to do it. Allow for donations through the system after a great debate. I think that'd be a really cool ad. And then the other thing is only that, you know, half the country is apathetic about who they vote for. And so you have a somewhat limited market in that it's mostly affluent, mobile, caring folks. That's still a big audience, but it's not everybody.
Actually, I totally agree with you on giving more, there's more functionality to hang off of this in terms of donations, advertising, giving people a place to integrate things. And that's like we're launching today, so we're going to put more stuff in. Yeah. But in terms of the apathy, we have 10 million people a month coming to our site. We've done some political things before, and where this came from is that we saw a huge amount of groundswell, people caring about things and passion from people who are not that way. Like you think, oh, who has iPhones? People in the Bay Area. No, people in Kentucky, in poor counties. So I'm actually surprised at how
10 million is still a tiny number relative to the number of people that we would want to vote.
If I could get to tens of millions of people using this product in the next 3 or 4 months, I'd be pretty happy. But it's a good point.
Yeah.
I think one of the interesting things will be to make sure that you are careful of the skew that you may get with early adopters and how you represent that as you roll it up.
One of the things about that is that we're positioning this to be your personal political profile online. So it's not meant to be, we're not trying to say, hey, we have the zeitgeist, because there's a lot of folks doing that. We're trying to say, hey, we're giving you a place to share your political opinions and your political profile online and actually build that easily as opposed to typing in a bunch of things on a database. So yes, but at the end of the day, if we give the people who are using it value by actually saying, hey, wow, I've interacted a little bit on the site and this is helping me understand this stuff. We did had some research commission that showed a quarter of the electorate formulates their political opinions online on comment sites and places online, which I think that's a huge place for us to play.
I'm not going to say I am or am not a fan, but bringing in people like Meghan McCain and other people that are kind of savvy to the social side of this as a way to goose getting people involved might be an interesting way to go.
Yeah, we actually have, I mean, our editorial team did a good job reaching out. Like the guy from the Hoover Institution actually reached back to us, and there's like, we have a few people today, but we're definitely going to be doing that going forward to the candidates and, you know, public opinion makers and so forth.
I was going to say, like Naval, my thoughts immediately went to causes, you know, Sean Parker's app. I think the reason why they got over 90 million users is because they really paid a lot of attention to the mechanics of how you recruit other people to causes. I think there is an opportunity to do something similar with political issues. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I didn't really see a lot there in terms of the mechanics of how you recruit people to issues.
The invitation systems and to some degree, a lot of this falls, we focused on the front of the funnel to give you a lot of things to do and be able to go from issue to candidate and candidate to issue initially. I think we wanted to show a strong showing there on the editorial, which we hadn't really done before really going out and providing a very robust set of invitation features. Some of that stuff's in there, you can share it, but I think I agree with you in terms of getting more people to recruit more easily is a big part of the next steps of what we're doing.
But who comes up with the editorial? I mean, like the poll questions, the categorizing?
We actually hired, you know, we used to be a news aggregation site. We're one of the largest ones. We actually hired editors. I actually have a PhD from Princeton who I hired to basically lead an editorial team. We have 3 editors now who are picking these questions and putting editorial around it. A guy who worked for the Daily Caller. But for us, that's a big part of a new place for us is actually putting human editors in front of the aggregation system that we've built.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, I think so I think that part of it might work to have some additional curation like that. To me, having your opening screen be just news articles, it actually kind of gets in the way of like truly understanding what the site is about. I mean, if it's really about recruiting people to issues and being able to create issues in a user-generated way, then why kind of be a news site?
Because it turns out that people interacting with the news is something that seems to work really well and getting people, it's a skeleton for interaction. If you come into a site and you're just like, here's a bunch of issues, the folks who have done that, and there's a lot of folks out there that do that, you go in there and you answer you go in there and, you know, type in some answers, but it's very static. You want to have something that actually gets people, you know, doing things more. And what we found, we built an entire site out of commentary around the news, which we then took to build people just putting in comments in general. We find booting this up is a big issue. And booting it up, we're going to do it through interaction with the news, because that's what people like to do. People like BuzzFeed and Huffington Post have built big sites on that. So it really is building a profile through interacting with that news. And you come in every day, you want to have something to do. And if, like, for example, I use EveryBlock. I love it, but EveryBlock is pretty static. It's like there's no real reason to go there. I wanted something that people would come in and they would come in every day and say, oh, that's what's going on. And once you get some interaction, it's the people's interaction with each other what I think will be the second stage. But that news provides a constant thing to come into. You go, hey, what about the primary? Let me go off and think about it. And a news article is a good proxy to get people to think about it.
One of the things that I immediately thought of was, wow, the Huffington Post would love to have this sort of feature set. Have you reached out to folks like the Huffington Post and said, can we enable what you're doing? Because they're never going to build a social network around politics, are they?
Well, so Huffington Post is probably one of the best people out there in building social interaction with the news. But and we definitely looked at what they're doing, looking at what Jonah's doing over at BuzzFeed. We actually put a pre-version of this product up on the front page of Fox News and got about, I don't know, tens of thousands of interactions in about an hour. And so we are reaching out to other people for partnering, but I don't have anything signed yet with anybody that I can actually go off and talk to. But we were on the front page of Fox in a pre-version of this product, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Let's hear it for politics.
All right,